All right, you guys. There's something I feel like we got to talk about. Me being in my early 30s, I'm 32, I'm getting ready to be 33. Something that was a huge staple of me being a teenager and all the way up into my early 20s was E3. Sadly, we got to make this video. So E3 to me was the gamer's paradise. You see the lights, you see the cameras, you see stars there. You see video games and it's all under one roof, right? And I just remember watching coverage of E3 on G4, which G4 is a completely different video, which I've never made. But all through the mid 2000s, I remember sitting down and watching it on G4. Kevin Pereira, Olivia Munn, Adam Sessler, Morgan Webb, and listening to them talk about all kinds of stuff. And the worst part is I always dreamed about going to E3, right? And most gamers that are in their late 20s and early 30s just remember E3 being this massive spectacle, massive trade show where all the new games are being showcased, all the new consoles for Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft being revealed. Like, always wondering, yo, are we getting a new console? And it was always, no, we're just getting an upgrade for one that's been out for like 5 years. Anyways, I remember finally getting out out here to California back in 2011, right? And I was like, yo, there's two things I want to do while I'm stationed here in California, and that is San Diego Comic-Con, which I never got tickets for because them some bitches sell out super fast, and of course E3 to go check out all that new that the big three, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo were planning to do for that year. But it dawned on me rather quickly being out here that it was impossible, damn near impossible for me to get tickets to go to E3 because you had to know somebody that knows somebody, right? And it was all because while I was stationed in San Diego, mind you, this all happened while I was in San Diego, the event was closed to the public, which I completely get. I do. Because it costs people money to even throw an event, to have people at these events. And I would be happy to spend money, but during that time, the event was closed to the public, right? And I just feel like E3 kind of strayed. It lost its way when it comes to the gamers. Like, what they were ultimately trying to do was to get the journalists there, to get the people that might pick up a controller just to change what they're watching on Netflix. That's the only reason why they pick up a controller, because they want industry journalists there. And guess what? Like I said, we'll have to make it on a G4 video, but on G4 they point blank said, we don't play games. People write the script for us. We just sell you on it. It's just one of those things. But they end up focusing on trying to get GameSpot there, IGN there, trying to get all these big people there just to potentially get their stuff on the front page to boost sales. Anyways, that's all but a distant memory. The last E3 that was in person actually took place in 2019. And you know what happened in 2020. E3 attempted to make a comeback in 2021 with strictly an all online format, which obviously didn't do too well because, 2022, it got canceled because of the same thing that was going on in 2020. So what about 2023? What about this year? Is this the year that E3 comes back? Sadly, as of March 30th, 2023, the show was canceled. And you might ask why the show was canceled. Well, according to the people that throw E3, it says it's due to lack of interest and a lack of attendance of major publishers, which I completely understand because, yeah, I feel like the lack of interest isn't in the gaming community. I feel the problem is the fact that information travels at such a fast rate that it's just easier for these companies to release information as time goes on, like throughout the year. Vice waiting for a trade show. And I feel like the time for trade shows is definitely obsolete. And 2020 definitely proved that you don't really need a trade show to be successful, that is. On top of that, it's easier for major companies, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, because think about it, they're all not stationed or based out of LA. They might have offices, but they're not based. And for them to even go to a trade show, right, they're going to have to incur cost of going there, the cost of shipping and setting up a booth, the cost of renting an amphitheater so that they can go and put on the main stage what exactly they want to do. When guess what, they could do all that on their website, they could do that on their Twitch, and doing it on their website and doing it on their Twitch makes sense for big companies, and it makes sense for companies. Period. End of story. You know why? Because it generates traffic to our website, which in turn generates revenue. Why? Because then you're selling ads, you're selling this, you're selling that. When it comes down to it, it just, from a business standpoint, that is, it makes sense for big companies to just say, screw E3, we're not going to do it. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to do the Nintendo trade show. We're going to do the Microsoft trade show, about Sony, whatever the hell they call it this year, right? That is the main reason why I feel like the attendance has been an issue, is because they could just put on their own thing. And guess what? They can have it in Japan, wherever, where my Nintendo is stationed. They can have it in Washington State, where Microsoft is stationed, and not have to leave and have to set up a multi-million-dollar booth and hiring people and setting up things. It just, from a business standpoint, it makes sense to be like, you know what, E3, we're done. I also feel like a lot of the downfall of the trade shows due to the fact that they pander to the wrong people. They pander to the journalists and people that don't spend money on games, people that don't play games, people that that sit down and like I said a minute ago, the G4s, where the people don't play games anymore. They have people play games for them that write the scripts, and all they do is sit down in front of the camera and read it. They don't play it. And I seldomly actually take a game score from IGN seriously anymore. You know why? It's because I saw how they treated Call of Duty, right? Every year it's Call of Duty is amazing, Call of Duty this, Call of Duty that. And then Call of Duty 2019 came out, which to me got back to the roots. Amazing story. And seeing those people from IGN be like, oh my God, oh, that gameplay, the trailer, oh, I want you to know, war is not beautiful, and I think that it just really compels me to be like, you know what, these people do not play the same games I play, because they're like, you know what, I want my gun to be a unicorn that farts rainbows, then I'm in. Because they're all about, the Fortnites and all that stuff, where if you want to play Call of Duty and have a really quality story, I loved the story for Call of Duty 2019 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which came out last year. I loved the story. The story was amazing. Multiplayer, we're not even going to talk about that. We're not even going to bring that up. But in closing, it kind of saddens me that something that was so big during my teen years and my early 20s is just obsolete. And instead of having we're going to have one last show off, and we're going to throw a shindig, and we're going to bury this thing, the proper way. It just kind of dies in silence. It just makes me realize I'm getting old, and that a lot of the things I grew up with, it's not the same. Because, like I said, the speed at which technology has changed, the speed at which information changes, all that stuff just completely, changed how trade shows are. And I would not be surprised if trade shows are going to be dead within the next 2 or 3 years. But E3, rest in peace, buddy. You will be missed. And I have a ton of memories of watching E3s, like the original the original Xbox being unveiled, and watching the Halo 2 trailers, watching old boy come out with the tattoo for Halo 3 on his arm, seeing gameplay footage of whatchamacallit, Titanfall. I was blown away that they were going to have, mechs fighting ground troops and have two different teams and bots all fighting on the same map. But yeah, rest in peace, E3. You'll be missed. Till next time, you guys. I'll catch you later. Bye.